Well, Bob, thanks for taking the time to let us look at your wonderful props here.
My pleasure, especially on American Werewolf in London.
It's
One of my favorite movies.
Still the best werewolf movie.
Oh, absolutely. There'll never be one better. No.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether you guys know, but Bob houses one of the most impressive memorabilia collections in the world, with Hollywood memorabilia stretching from the Time Machine. That's the original. It's the original Time Machine. And there's the Aliens in here, Terminator, and
I've got a lot of great friends.
there we go.
That's what
But
it's all about.
Bob does have a lot of stuff from An American Werewolf in London, and he's been nice enough to show us some of the original props. How did you get hold of them?
Oh, Rick Baker.
Rick Baker.
Yeah, Rick gave them to me. Yeah, and John said I'd be the only guy who could get it, so I was
Brilliant.
between Rick and John. That's how I ended up with this stuff. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's take a look at what Bob's hiding in his basement.
Absolutely. Take a look.
So,
Here's some interesting guys right here that might look interesting. Remember the big nightmare sequence that's in the film where the Nazi guys come in and blast everybody with machine guns and all that stuff? Well, these are the guys. These are the masked guys with the Nazi helmets on and all that kind of stuff. And this is my favorite guy because he always looks like a werewolf, which I kind of dig anyway. But there he is. He's kind of a cool looking guy. You can actually see where the actor looked out of the little slits there and stuff. This is a very, very short scene in the film, of course. It was very effective. And you can see how Rick, even for a very short scene, how much detail on all the hairs punched in here and stuff. Most people would never take that time, but Rick does. That's why his stuff is always better than anybody else's. That's exactly why. And then over here, this is interesting. In the theater, David Naughton's in there, and all of a sudden he starts to change into the werewolf. Now, this used to work. I don't think it works anymore. It's pretty stiff now. But these used to be hidden in here, and they had fake nails painted on here, and it came right through the rubber. And I mean, it really looked great in the film. It's really scary looking, but it doesn't want to move anymore. But you can see the quality here again. The hair, all the hair's punched in here. This looks really pretty incredible. And this being latex is lasting much better even than the foam rubber stuff. But you can see that it's totally detailed everywhere. I mean, it's really, really cool. But I know when I saw this in the film, it made my hand hurt because I thought, oh my God, it's going right through the nails. That's bad, you know. But it looked pretty cool. But that's a great prop. And then here is just a latex piece now. It's foam actually. But this is when he first starts to turn. There's that one great shot in the film where you see the close-up of him and you first see the eyes. They're starting to look like a wolf's eyes. And this is one of the pieces that was on David Naughton, which you can see that's David inside there in negative, as a matter of fact. But you can just see some of the stuff here that Rick is just such a craftsman. He's so good. And then down here is one of my favorite pieces. This is David Naughton as he was underneath he was literally underneath the stage with his arms and just his head sticking out. And this is when he's laying on the floor inside of the apartment and he's starting to change and he's screaming and yelling. And this is the piece actually that he was on, and they just attached it to him, made it look like. And then they were doing this, this even feels extremely realistic, but they were doing this, they gave him that, as he's screaming and yelling, which is kind of cool. Now here's a piece of his buddy again. Here's Jack. Now this is a piece that was actually used. That's why it is so beat up now. But this is one of the actual appliances that was on the actor at the time. But the trouble with rubber, especially foam rubber, it has a life and it's not very long sometimes. And this is unfortunately one of the ones that kind of went. But that's what happens with this type of stuff.
Well, with that piece, that was the piece that was used in the stage 3 makeup, which eventually was the puppet in the cinema sequence.
Just before he became the puppet.
Right, yeah.
This was him before he came. And then, speaking of the puppet, here is the puppet. Here he is. He's a little worse for wear now. And I used to talk to Rick about, well, maybe I should patch him up. And he says, oh, no, man, the worse he looks, the better he is. I mean, that's supposed to be him. That's Jack. But this was a full puppet. Everything worked on him. The eyes worked, the mouth worked, and they did the whole thing, which was done extremely well in the movie. I mean, because it was hard to tell it really wasn't the actor anymore, but you just kind of knew it would be kind of hard for him to do it. But that's Jack in his final stage in the theater. And then here, which I will lift up here, is a chest piece that was used on David. And you can see it's in still fairly good shape for what it is, but he actually just wore this. The one side's kind of coming apart now, but this is a chest of actual David's body. but this is one of the things where he was starting to change. And here again, what I find so interesting is all this hair is punched in one hair at a time, which had to take him, oh, I don't know how long, but it's pretty neat looking stuff. And I'm so grateful to Rick in entrusting these things to me, because he just doesn't give his stuff out. And of course, maybe because I've known him since he was 13, maybe I had something to do with it. And I know where all the skeletons are buried. See, that's so anyway. But he entrusted me with this stuff, which I really feel wonderful. Now, of course, we come to the big guy, who is a little little used up now. That's trouble with foam rubber again. This is the final suit that he had a guy in actually wearing this in Piccadilly Square, where he's running down. And the guy, you can see some legs back here, which we'll show you in a little while, of the dummy that's in here now. But the guy wore this, and his arms would come down to about the elbows on the creature, and he would just do this. And they had him on like almost a wheelbarrow thing in the back, and the guys would wheel him on, and so he would so he was barely even touching the ground, but it looked very, very much, and he had very limited movement in here. He could just make the head move, because his head was down in here somewhere, and he could make the head kind of move, but that looks so real in the film, because you see him going by the cars and everything. You really get the idea he's walking and moving, and it's a terrific outfit, even though he's kind of falling apart. And the back legs they had on rods, and even though you didn't see them in the film, Rick wanted to make sure if you did, they would be there, so they were actually moving too. They had a puppeteer on those legs moving them, which is really kind of cool. You didn't actually see it in the film, but you saw a lot of close-ups of this guy where he's going along by the cars and all that kind of stuff, causing all the wrecks and everything like that. But it's a masterpiece film. Every time Rick comes over, he fluffs the hair up. He says, "Oh, you got the hair down too low," and it just kind of falls by itself. It's sort of like my hair now. But anyway, that's the old boy.